Good morning, students. Myself, G.Radha, Senior Lecturer in CCP from Government Polytechnic Firman, Warangal. In today's class, we are going to discuss about the topics how about the topics that is block diagram of a computer, how to draw the block diagram of a computer and functions of each unit of the part, how to define hardware, software, firmware, various hardware components of a computer. Now in previous class, we have discussed about the topics what is computer, what are the characteristics and capabilities of computers, what are the advantages and disadvantages of computers, and we have seen the areas in business where computers are used and what are the different data processing operations in computers. Now in today's class, we will be discussing about the topics that is how to draw the block diagram of a computer and what are the functions of each unit and how to define hardware, software, firmware, and various hardware components of a computer. What are the various hardware components of a computer? Now let us go to the actual topic. Now, students, I think you can see in this slide the block diagram of a computer. Okay, see how the block diagram of a computer is. So in yesterday's class we have discussed what is a computer. Computer is an electronic device which takes inputs, processes that input and gives the desired output. So here you can see in the block diagram of a computer system the input devices on the left side which is connected to with an arrow, that is central processing unit. The central processing unit is a CPU box you have seen yesterday in the picture. That is CPU box is again divided into three parts, that is control unit, arithmetic logic unit and memory unit. Okay, this central processing unit CPU part, that is control unit and arithmetic logic unit, actually connected to memory unit. It shows two arrows, that is a the whatever control unit signals will be sent to memory unit, arithmetic logical unit, and again back to, that is control unit, it will go to the back to the arithmetic logic unit and control unit. You can see your arrows here, and the other thing is on the right side you can see the arrow is output, and below that you can see storage. Whatever the desired output we get, it will be stored in the memory of the computers. Okay students, so this is the block diagram of a computer system, which is which you can see as a picture in the slide. Now let us proceed to the next slide. So what are the various units of a computer? So we have seen the block diagram. Now we'll see what are the various units of a computer. Now what are the various units of a computer? That is input unit, output unit, CPU. Okay. So we have already seen in the diagram input unit, output unit, CPU. So CPU is again divided into three: arithmetic and logical unit, control unit, memory unit. Okay. So input unit. So first part of computer is input unit. So what is this input unit? Input unit, it is a device which is used to send data to the computer. Okay. Through, so what are the input units we use in a computer system is nothing but a keyboard and mouse. We actually send the data into the computer. So these are the input units. And next is the what is the purpose of input unit? Actually, to facilitate communication between user and computer. Input unit, what it will do? It act as a mediator, okay, between the user and the computer system. What are the devices you have? Input devices, punched hole devices. It is one of the oldest and cheapest devices. Card and paper tapes, two most familiar punched hole devices. Data is recorded on these in the form of punched holes during some standard code. Okay. So these are the oldest and cheapest devices: punch hole, cards, and paper tapes. So input unit in the next slide. This slide is in this slide we are discussing about the input unit performs the following functions. That is, what are the functions it performs? Accepts data and programs from the external environment, converts the data into computer acceptable form, supplies the converted instructions and data to the computer system for further processing. This is nothing but about the functions of input units. It accepts the data from the external environment, that is keyboard, mouse, then converts the data into computer acceptable form. It will go into the computer system. Then it converts the computer acceptable, that is nothing but digits. Okay, computer is an electronic device which don't understand English language, so English language will be converted into digits. Okay, decimal to, that is nothing but a digital it is converted, supplies the converted instructions and data to the computer system for further processing. Okay, these are the functions performed by input units. Next is output unit. What are the output unit you have? So what is output unit? The device which is required to obtain the process data and pass it to the user is required format. In required format, the device which is required to obtain the process data. Okay, it is nothing but whatever desired output we need can be have through output unit. What are the output units in computer system? Is nothing but a monitor, that is display, video, visual display unit. You have seen in yesterday's class, VDU, and also printer is also an output unit where you get a hard copy of the on the paper, which is put it on paper. When the output is put on paper, it is nothing but a hard copy, and when you see it on the monitor, it is a soft copy. Okay students, now let us proceed to the next slide. So what is this one? So we have seen what is input unit and what is output unit. And the other part of computer system is central processing unit. So what is this CPU, central processing unit? So it is the heart and brain of the computer. It receives and processes data. It executes the instructions. All major calculations and comparisons are made, and responsible for controlling the entire operations of the computer system. Okay students, in CPU is the main, it is nothing but a main heart and brain of the computer, because without the CPU nothing is done. You can just enter the input from the input devices and then display the output on the monitor, but actual processing is done in the CPU. Without CPU nothing can be done in a computer system. So all the calculations, comparisons and execution of the instructions all will be, and controlling of the systems. Okay, connections of the systems also can be controlled by the central processing unit. Okay students, this is a CPU other parts. So computer is divided into three parts: input, process, that is central processing unit, and output. Now, so you can see here in this slide, central processing unit. So this is a box, CPU box you can say. So here you have a, in CPU box there is a power on off switch. Okay students, you can see in the picture in this slide, this is power on off switch. Then you have power on indicator. You have two indicators here. One is the blinking. Okay, power on indicator is a, whenever the power is on you can see a light, and hard disk drive indicator light will be blinking. So when the system is in running mode, what will happen is there is another light will be blinking, that is nothing but hard disk drive indicator light. Okay, then you have a reset button. So power on off switch, power on indicator, hard disk drive indicator light, then reset button. Okay students, so this is about central processing unit front side. These are parts you can see in front side. The CPU is further divided into memory unit, arithmetic logic unit, and control unit. Actually, the CPU is divided into three parts. What are the three parts? The memory unit, the arithmetic logic unit, and control unit. Now let us see what is this one. So what is memory? Stores data and instructions temporarily for storing as long as computer is on. Okay, memory is nothing but it is one of the part of the computer where we actually store the data and instructions temporarily for processing purpose. Okay, so how we measure the, so these are the, this slides to shows you how we measure the memory in a computer systems. Suppose for example, the sound frequency. Suppose, how can you measure the sound frequency? That is nothing but sound. Sound can be measured by using a frequency. Then, in the same way, in computer systems, memories are measured like this. That is, 1 byte is equal to 8 bits, 1 kilobyte is equal to 1024 bytes, and 1 megabyte is equal to 1024 kilobytes. 1 gigabyte is equal to 1024 megabyte, and 1 terabyte is equal to 1024 gigabyte. Okay, students, these are the measurement of memory unit in computer systems. Now let us go to the next slide. Then this slide is discussing about, in this side, this slide we are discussing about the topic secondary storage devices. What are the secondary storage devices? So we have some secondary storage devices which we have already discussed in yesterday's class. Okay, in computers, data can be stored on devices called storage devices. These devices are also called permanent storage devices. Okay, we can store the data in a computer system. So that is a, those are called permanent storage devices, that is RAM and ROM. We'll be seeing in the next classes, we'll be discussing what are the types of memories the computers have. Okay, permanent storage devices. Now let us go to the next one, is arithmetic and logical unit. So what is arithmetic and logical unit? So it is a unit which performs arithmetical and logical operations. Okay, what are the arithmetic and logical operations? That is addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Logical operations are, that is not, or, and. Okay, nor, these are the logical operations we have seen. So operations in, that is nothing but addition, multiplication, subtraction, division and comparison. So this is one of the part of CPU, central processing unit, arithmetical logical unit, which is used for performing arithmetical and logical operations. Now next is a control unit. So what is this control unit? Control unit is nothing but it controls all the connections of monitor, CPU, keyboard, mouse, printer, whatever they are connected to the ports. So what it will do, it will control all the instructions. Okay, a part of CPU that ensures that the instructions given are followed in the required sequence, and also controls other parts of the computers, that is computer system, that is ALU, memory, input and output devices. Okay, it controls everything, instructions whatever passed by the user, and also connections which are connected to the ports. Okay, students, so this is a control unit. Next, the control unit act as the nervous system for the computer. Okay, it manages and coordinates the entire operations of the computer system, like telling the input device when to feed data into the storage unit, analyzing the instructions and providing data to the ALU. So what the ALU should do once it receives data, etc. So these are the instructions which control unit, these are the functions which control unit does. So here students, we have discussed what is CPU. CPU is nothing but a brain. Okay, brain and heart of the computer we are saying. So in the same way, control unit is nothing but a nervous system for the computer. Without controlling, because it is controlling all the connections, all the instructions, everything will be controlled by the control unit, which is a part of CPU. Central processing unit is divided into three parts, that is nothing but a control unit, arithmetic logic unit, memory unit. Okay, students, so we are discussing about all these important parts of the central processing unit. Next, So let us go to the output unit. So what is the output unit? The following are the operations performed by the output unit. What it will do? Accepts results produced by the CPU, which is in coded form, converts these coded results to humanly readable form, supplies the converted results to the humans. Okay students, what is a computer? Computer is an electronic device. It don't understand English language. What it will do? It will convert the English language. That is, suppose for example you have a small letter 65, small letter a, whose decimal value is 65, is converted into 10001. So it understands digits, ones and zeros. Again it converts the digits into decimal and supplies as an output and in as an output to the user. Okay students, this is about the output unit. So so what are the input and output devices we have? So we have seen till now we were discussing about the topic, that is how, what is a block diagram of a computer. Okay students, what is block diagram of a computer and various units of the computers in that computer system, what are the various units we have? We were discussing about these things. Then now we'll be discussing about the other next topic is, that is nothing but input output devices. So what are the input output devices you have in a computer systems is, a computer system can be proved to be useful only when it is able to communicate with the user. The input output devices provide the means of communication between the computer and the user. Okay, input and output, it is a means of communication between the user and the computer system. So what are the input devices you have? Keyboard, mouse, scanner, touch screen, light pen. So these are the input devices. What are the output devices you have is monitor, LCD, that is liquid crystal display, printer, speaker. Okay students, so these are the list of input and output devices you have in a computer system. Now, let us go to the next slide is, we were discussing about the, now in this slide we will be discussing about what is hardware is any physical electronic device. So what is hardware is that is nothing but which we can touch and feel. What is hardware? We can touch and feel. These are the parts of the computer systems: computers, adapter cards, ethernet cables, circuits, displays, power supplies, keyboards, printers, and mice are all the hardwares, are examples of hardwares. Okay, let us go to the next slide. What is software? Okay students, what is software in a computer system? Software are programs running on hardware. Examples of software are operating systems. Okay students, what is operating system? It is a software in computer systems. Now suppose if you take a, when you take it, when you buy a TV at home, directly we cannot get the programs in TV. What you have to do? You have to take the cable connection. So cable connection is nothing but a, it is a type of software. There what is happening, through cable connections we can see all the programs. In the same way, when you buy a computer system, it is a lay, it is nothing but it cannot run. So for running the computer system you need a software. What is the software that is required for running a computer system is operating systems. Okay students, in our lab, the software operating systems we are using in this, in the lab is nothing but a Windows 8. Windows 8 is a version. So versions will be changing. Okay, Windows is the operating system. Here in the lab we'll be using the operating system is Windows 8. Okay, so examples of software are operating system which provide overall control for computer hardware and applications, which are optional programs used for particular job. Okay, so this is a operating system is a must for operating the computer system. So along with operating system, we need the applications. So to work we need the applications is MS Office, Tally accounting package, Visual Basic. Okay, these are the which are optional programs used for a particular job. Applications which are optional programs used for a particular job like Visual Basic, MS Office, Tally accounting package. Okay, students. Next, what is software? Software resides on disk and brought into memory when it is needed. So these are the points we were discussing about the software. Software resides on the disk and is brought into memory when it is needed. Okay, students. Now let us proceed to the next slide. So we were discussing about what is hardware, what is software. Now we will discuss in this slide about firmware. What is firmware? Firmware is also software that is stored in hardware that cannot easily be modified. Okay, it is also a software that is stored in hardware that cannot be easily modified. For example, BIOS. BIOS ROM is an IBM PC compatible. It is sometimes called firmware to indicate that it falls into an uncertain area somewhere between hardware and software. So BIOS ROM is a firmware, okay, which falls between hardware and software. It is stored in a non-volatile memory device. It is stored in non-volatile memory device. That is nothing but a, you cannot change it. Non-volatile means the memory which is stored cannot be changed. Okay, students. So these are the things we were discussing. So in the beginning, we discussed about the block diagram of a computer and what are the parts of the computers, and we have seen input output units, what are the list of input output units, and we have seen discussed what is hardware, software, firmware. Now in the next slide we will be discussing about the list of hardware components of a computer. What are the list of hardware components of a computer you have? So essential hardware components which are must for a computer. So what are the essential hardware components? Motherboard. Okay, students. Next, processor. So it is a must. Motherboard, processor, RAM, and power supply. So these are the hardware components which are compulsory for a computer system to run. So motherboard, processor, RAM, power supply. Okay, students. Now let us proceed to the next slide. Is then other than these hardware components, we also require the other hardware components is hard disk, DVD read write, monitor, keyboard, mouse. Okay, students. A computer system means we need all these essential hardware components: motherboard, processor, RAM, power supply, hard disk, DVD read write, monitor, keyboard, mouse. Okay, students. Next, there are some hardware components which are optionals, not compulsory, but they are optional. That is, graphics card generally exists on board AGP, sound card generally exists on board, LAN card generally exists on board, and Bluetooth dongle. Okay, students, these are the optional hardware list which is required by the computer systems. The other optional hardware list required by the computer systems is TV tuner card, media center HT system with remote, webcam, headphone, multi-card reader, flash drives, external or portable hard disks. Okay, okay, students. So these are the list of hardware components required by the computer. Some are essential and some are optional. So we have seen what are essential hardware components required by the computer system and what are optional hardware components required by the computer system. Now let us see pictorially. Now in this slide we can see the hardware components, some of the hardware components which are shown in picture, pictorially shown. That is, this is a printer, you can see here. Okay students, this is printer, this is CPU box, this is monitor, this is keyboard, this is mouse, modem, CD-ROM drive, speaker. Yesterday we have already discussed in the class, and we have also seen these pictures in the class, yesterday's class. So these are the hardware components in the computer systems, you can see. Okay students, so in today's class, so these are the topics we have discussed. That is nothing but a various units of a computer's. Input unit useful to feed the data, output unit gives the result, central processing unit arithmetic and logical, which is divided into three parts. Central processing CPU is divided into three parts, that is arithmetic and logical unit process the data, control unit controls various units, memory unit stores the data. Next we have discussed the topics hardware, software, firmware and hardware components. So in this today's class, students, these are the topics which we have discussed. Now, let us have some questions on quiz. So what is this? First question is, this is the first question. The heart of the computer is, with some options, that is A, B, C, D. A contains input unit, B contains output unit, C contains central processing unit, and D contains keyboard. Okay students, anybody of you can tell. So what is the heart of the computer here? Now, heart of the computer here is nothing but a central processing unit. Okay, without CPU, the computer system does not exist. So everything is run with CPU. Okay, students. Second question. Let us see the second question. The computer system is a dash device. What is a computer system? It is nothing but a hardware device. Okay. Next. So there are, okay students, we have now in today's class I'm giving you some assignments for today's class, that is, list the functions of ALU. Which type of problems can you give to it? Okay, what are the functions of ALU? We have to prepare these assignment questions, and in tomorrow's class I'll discuss these assignment questions. Okay students. Next, list five functions that storage devices cannot do. What are the five functions that storage devices cannot do? So students, prepare these assignment questions, take it as a homework, go to home, prepare the homework questions, assignment questions, and tomorrow's class we will discuss these questions. Now let us see in this slide what are the frequently asked questions in previous end exams. Okay students, in previous end semester exam, what are the questions frequently asked with the topics we have discussed in today's class? The question is, draw the block diagram of a computer and explain various units of a computer. So this is the first question that frequently asked in the previous end exams. Next, name various units of a computer system. What are the various units of a computer system? You have to name it. What is hardware, software and firmware? Write about hardware components of a computer. So students, these are the frequently asked questions. Previously in the question paper, these are the questions asked in the end exams. Okay students. So in today's class, so these are the topics which we were discussed in today's class. So let us have a revision of the topics we have discussed. Okay, so in today's class we discussed how to draw a block diagram of a computer. Okay, and what are the various units of a computer system. We have seen each and every unit. Then we have seen what are input output devices in a computer system, what are input and what are output devices in a computer system. And we have seen what is hardware, software and firmware. And also we discussed about the topics on list of hardware components of a computer which are essential and which are optional. List of hardware components of a computer which are essential and which are optional we have seen. And we have also discussed some of the quiz questions in the class, and we have seen previously asked questions also in the class. Okay, students. So I think you understood. So these topics which we have discussed in today's class, you have got a clear picture. You have understood. I will end the class here for today. Okay, students. Bye. Bye for now.